around the corner, Greg.
Oh, you can see my.
All right, so we're actively recording, correct?
We should be
We're
recording.
live.
Okay, so our first recorded committee meeting, and first committee meeting with the new policies in place. So,
Yes.
so please give us a little bit of grace as we work out the kinks with the whole thing. Okay, so we're come to order. Let's rise for the pledge, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks. Okay. I think we should approve the agenda, though it's not on the agenda. I think we should probably approve the agenda. Mostly because I want to add something to it, or we would like to add something to it. So, why don't you motion to make the addition?
I move to amend the agenda to add selection of committee chair and secretary.
Second.
Okay. So, motion to amend by Greg, seconded by Glenn, to add the selection of committee chair and secretary to the agenda. Okay.
So just as a quick note, right, we've got that as part of our policy to have that the committee chooses the chair. So just trying to follow through with policy. And then I think we may also consider wanting to have someone officially named as secretary, but
Right.
open to thoughts on that.
Do we want to do this now? Then just the committee? Is that what you're talking about? Nominate?
Well, right now we're waiting.
Right now, we're motioning to add this to the agenda.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Sure.
so we'll get into that discussion once we
right.
hopefully agree to add it. So,
Fine.
all right, any further discussion on the motion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we're adding that to the agenda, and we're adding it as the very next item,
So that would be
so that we
1B.
can then continue with the meeting. Yes, I would say 1B, so that we can then continue with the meeting with an official chair. All right, so Glenn, what did you have in mind then?
I was trying to find something here.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. Greg, why don't you go first if you like?
Well, I think we just have to nominate a chair, right? So
Okay, yeah. What I'd like to do is nominate Greg as the chair.
I would be interested if,
Okay. As I had mentioned, I think to both of you on the phone that I'm fine keeping in the role, as I've kind of already acted as the chair to get this rolling, for lack of any other person to do that. So I'm happy to do it, but if you want to take it on, I'm certainly willing to consider it.
The only reason I suggest that is that down the road, there may be some transition issues if things get a little bit further than our timeline that we agreed to and,
Sure.
and whatever. And that's the only reason for me making that suggestion.
Okay.
So knowing that your amount of time is,
Limited.
limited, yeah. That's why.
Okay.
So,
well, plus you have a full plate with
well,
board
beyond
duties,
that,
right?
yeah, no
That's a lot,
kidding.
so.
Yeah.
Who does? I mean, that's inconsequential.
Not really.
It's separate from this, but that's fine. I mean, you make a solid point about transition, though we had talked about when we formed the committee, we talked about transition, that, obviously there would be time to be able to bring someone else up to speed, whatever. I guess we didn't speak about specifically with respect to the role of the chair, but so I mean, there's still option to transition if this continues on past December 31st. But if you got a fire in your belly, I'm fine with that.
Fire in the belly.
Yes, yeah, I figured as much.
We'll go with that.
And it ain't hard work.
Okay, so you've nominated
Greg.
Greg. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Do we nominate a secretary?
Well, yeah, I think I don't know,
Okay.
Kristen, are you interested in being
Sure.
secretary? Or
Sure.
I second it.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. So now we have chair and secretary.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
all
Well,
you.
I guess item 2 is call to the public.
Do you want to read the
And
third?
I did.
Oh,
bring
did you?
the-
Okay.
I grabbed an
brought
old
it too.
agenda. So again, please, speakers are asked to express themselves in a civil manner with due respect for the dignity and privacy of others who may be affected by your comments. Each speaker may be limited to 3 minutes. No participant may speak more than once. And let's see, Jeff Scott. You can either come up and be on camera, you can sit where you are.
Because it'll
It's
pick
really
up your
to you.
audio, so it's up to you.
I can stay right here.
Okay.
I think everybody knows me. My name is Jeff Scott. I live in the district. I have 3 children in the district. I am a sitting board member, but I'm here as a parent. I'm here because the district told families something that is not true. The community life that came out just yesterday on the very front has a photograph of the Board of Education, and under the photograph, the district printed the words, "As a Board of Education, we unanimously support the sinking fund replacement proposal on the November 3rd, 2026 ballot." Parents deserve an honest account of what the board actually did. A 7-0 vote to put the question on the ballot is not a vote to endorse it. It is not unanimous support. It is the board sending the question to the voters. Those are 2 different acts. This publication collapses them on purpose and then puts 7 faces on the result, including mine and the 3 of you, as if every person in that picture had signed a campaign ad. This district has no excuse for not knowing the difference. In 2017, on the original sinking fund vote, the Bureau of Elections found that 7 members of the board, and they have all gone, there are none remaining, got in hot water with the Michigan Campaign Finance Act when a mass mailing that said vote yes and was signed by all 7 trustees lacked a paid-for byline and an expenditure report. So while none of these 7 are still here, that is the point. The people changed, but the institution should not forget. Heartland already has a file in Lansing. We don't need another one. The district should know better than to publish stuff like this. Michigan law allows school districts to give facts. It does not allow the district to use public platforms to campaign for ballot measures, especially those paid for by the voters and on the voters' dime, as community life is. To make it worse, if you continue on, it equates a yes vote on the ballot measure with a safe learning environment, which is a veiled threat against our children, as if they have to pay another $500,000 in taxes to keep the schools safe. That is not the truth. The district's job is to keep students safe, whether or not any voter in this community votes yes on another $500,000 of their taxes. So we are about to hire the next superintendent. That's why we're here this afternoon. That's why I'm bringing this up. We need to make sure that the hire we make will tell the community the truth, that that person will be a representative of the board. We need somebody who will stay neutral, who will not put words in board members' mouths, who will not use student safety as a weapon against voters. I encourage the board, the district, to correct the record, and I hope that this committee helps find someone who will not create the next problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Don't see any other
was the only
cards,
card.
so moving ahead to item 3A, the development of questions for the search firms that have provided proposals. Anybody want to?
Yeah, I'd like to just kind of lead that off a bit. Several weeks ago, I had sent some questions to various board members regarding some of the questions that I would like to see answered in the proposals. After reading the 2 proposals that we already received, I had a lot of questions that came from that and some really, really big concerns as well. And I never thought I'd say this, but for what they were going to charge us, I am very nervous that their supposed search, both of these entities, are literally going to hand us resumes and say, here you go, and oh yeah, we talked to them, these might be good candidates. I want to see these companies do a little bit more work than what they put in their proposals, so I came up with a list of questions, and I'm not sure if either of you were able to read it, but it's fairly extensive, and it keeps these companies who are going to propose this search for us, it keeps them front and center and letting them know that we are in charge of it and we want updates and we want to know exactly what they're doing, who they talk to, that sort of thing. So if you like, I could go through those questions right now, if you like.
Yeah, I took your document and then kind of inserted notes of my own.
Okay.
I'm kind of surprised that you didn't say, when you read the proposals, that a lot of the questions were answered, because so many of these items are addressed and I think answered fairly in the proposals. Particularly the MASB proposal was more consistent than the other. I thought with addressing a lot of these issues, I thought it was more comprehensive. But I felt that a lot of these questions that you had were addressed in the proposals. So,
I have to say, the tone of both proposals, it does imply the answer to a lot of these questions, but I want them to elaborate a little bit more than what they did
okay.
in the proposals. So I have some concerns. Being a person that's dealt with consulting groups and headhunters and such, some of the boilerplate material in those proposals had me a little worried. So,
Well, and being a consultant yourself.
right, who inserts the same language in my contracts. So, to kind of beef it up a bit and make sure that we're getting exactly what we're signing up for. And I'm even open to, if they revise the proposal, if they have to revise their quote price or whatever, I'm for it, knowing what I want them to do. And I want them to do at a very micro level. I want them to really let us know what they're doing, how they're doing it, who they've talked to, and I can go through those questions one by one, if you like.
Sure.
The first one, the first question I want answered, how do they plan on collecting stakeholder input? By stakeholder, meaning board, admin, parents, etc. And although there are some references in there, I would really like to know the plan. Do they plan on meeting with these various groups individually? Do they plan on having an overall meeting to invite the public? What are they going to do for that?
Yeah, that's one that I definitely agreed. I don't think was addressed specifically in either proposal.
Right.
So yeah, that's one that I agreed with.
Yeah, I mean, particularly community too.
Yeah.
Want to get community input. I know
Right.
we're talking about that with parents, but you know, it also extends to taxpayer, so.
Right. And just by stating that they are going to get information from stakeholders, for me, is not enough. I want to see it beefed
Sure.
up a
Yeah,
little bit.
they both said that they would, but they didn't say how they would.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And that's a concern. Number two, what will be the search firm's role in contract issues? Now, I'm not implying that they should handle all contract negotiations. Are they going to advise the board? Will they be an advocate for our terms during the search? Or are they going to tell potential candidates, listen, I think they're willing to pay up to X number of dollars or whatever, and I don't want them doing that.
Sure.
And I want to
Well,
make
yeah,
sure that there's some guardrails.
Logic would state that if we're paying them, hopefully they would be advocating for us.
You would think.
But I guess it doesn't hurt to answer the question. And we would have obviously legal counsel, district counsel advocating for us, and they would help manage and negotiate that contract process. They'd probably even provide a draft contract for us. They would write that. So we know we would at least have them in our corner. But it would be nice to know, at least to get confirmation from them.
I would like it solidified
that
in the agreement.
Yeah, that they won't be advocating for the other side.
Yes. Number three, I would like them to describe their complete search process and the deliverables. And when I say deliverables, I'm talking about quantitative, not qualitative. What kind of deliverables will they provide? What will we receive at each stage of the process? Number of candidates spoken to, number of responses that were given, how many searches into their past history, whether work history, personal history, and so on. And I really want them to spell it out in terms of what they're going to provide, not just contacts and updates, but if they are going to update us, which I'm sure they will, I want specifics in those updates. I
Okay.
really do.
So do you think this could be addressed by stipulating to them what we want them to provide,
Sure.
by just
Yes.
by including that and say, if you include this in your proposal, would you need to revise it or whatever, instead
Yes.
of asking them for a laundry list or
Right.
for whatever, but if we tell them what we're expecting,
Right.
and then they could match. I'm just
I
what I'm
agree.
trying to envision is I'm translating your questions in my mind to what our Q&A session is going to be with them, and I don't want it to be a 1-hour inquisition. You know what I mean? It's like I think
Right.
we need to
Yeah.
try to focus the questions and focus on the most important. Maybe not as I don't know if I want to say not as detailed, but maybe not as in depth or something. But find a way to ask more pointed questions or keep it to a smaller number,
Right.
so that we can make better use of everybody's time.
Yeah.
And then
In other
maybe
words,
keep
be
it
a
to like
little
a
bit
half an
more
hour.
prescriptive in what we want them to
Yes.
provide.
Yes. Yeah.
Like lay it out.
Yeah,
for
I was going to say
us.
proactive, but yes, there you go. Better.
Well, I think part of your approach, right, is not only to understand what they're going to do, but in other words, what they've outlined, what's the background behind that, or the more detail behind it, as opposed to being kind of more fluffy,
Yeah.
right? So you're, on one hand, you kind of need to probe a little bit versus spoon feed. I see what
Sure.
you're saying from a pragmatic standpoint. So if we want an updated quote, we do need to update what we're asking them to do. But as part of the vetting process of vendors, I think, there's that,
Yeah,
point
we
to
got to
ask.
thread the needle there.
Yeah.
Somewhere
Yeah.
in between.
I agree with that. I just want to avoid any kind of update like, yeah, everything's going great. I want a little bit more detail than
Oh,
that.
absolutely. Yeah, and I got more of that feeling that that would be provided from one proposal versus the other, just because one just seemed more vague to me. But yeah, no, I think it's perfectly reasonable to say, we want more than just hey, things are going great.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
So you're
Number
looking
four
for,
is,
like a weekly report out, essentially.
yes, yeah,
Or
absolutely.
bi-weekly, something.
Something that makes sense. If they need more than a week's time for certain stages,
Well, I
that's
was gonna say,
fine.
yeah, depending on where we are in the process. Like,
Right.
If the job posting is up and it's going to be up for 4 weeks, maybe we want a weekly update as to how many
many
have come in, or
applicants.
whatever. Who knows? But
Yeah.
at least give us something depending on where they are in the process. Yeah.
Number four is the biggest one for me on my list. I would like to know how they're going to identify desirable candidates who are not actively searching for a job. What concerns me is that anybody on this board could put out a posting for a superintendent role, and you're going to get a lot of resumes from people that either are on their way out, either forcibly through retirement, whatever. That's all fine and well. We could weed through those, but what's going to happen in terms of this organization helping us look for people that might be superstars that maybe never gave it a second thought?
Right.
And
That haven't been actively looking.
right.
Yeah.
And I think there's probably some very qualified candidates that we would probably want to speak to that aren't throwing their hat in the ring right now. So,
Sure. And I think both proposals referenced networks that they are either affiliated with or homegrown. I think it was MLI they have that academy, like the Superintendent Academy, whatever.
Yeah.
So they have that database of all the people who have participated in that academy. And then they can reach out to them because they know obviously like how they performed in the academy, what their
Sure.
interest is. So I mean they have that, and then the other one is NASS, some other I can't remember national affiliation. So that has a broader reach than what MLI's homegrown database is. But so that they do have some of those that they described in the proposals. That
And-
it's more than just taking applications
Right.
submitted.
And even things to add, like for example, there's a lot of schools in Michigan which are known for their education programs and turnout of teachers and such, like Eastern Michigan University. You know, is there anybody maybe on staff there that might know of somebody or whatever? And there may be a lot more avenues than what they've prescribed in their proposals that we should kind of be aware of, that they should take a look at. And that's one of the big things.
Yeah, I
for
mean,
me.
I think they were fairly detailed. Again, one more than the other probably on like what other resources they have and where they can look. So I guess if there are other places we want them to look, I mean, how do we tell them? We aren't educators. We're not in that world. So how do we tell them where to look, or do we ask them to tell us what else they're doing besides what they've listed in the proposal?
Yeah. And honestly, I think when you're looking for a high-level position like this, I really don't think there's much difference between, let's say, a superintendent or a CEO or anything like that. A lot of those practices are kind of constant throughout the job search industry.
Sure.
And that's one thing that I'd like to know, followed up by question number 5, which is kind of like 4A, but I'd really like to know what will be done to attract high quality candidates. Are we just going to send them an email saying, hey, are you interested? Are they going to get a phone call? Are they going to ask for a one-on-one meeting? What's going to happen there? What is the actual method that they're going to use for that?
Okay. And then I guess, what do we do with that information then, Glenn? Once we find out what their method is, then what do we do with that? Like
Well,
what's
the main goal is to make sure that they have a method.
okay?
That's
So by
that's the
asking the
whole
question,
thing.
we're just trying to learn.
Right, because if we ask the question and they're stumped by it, well, that's a red flag for me.
Okay,
They should have some idea of what they want to do and how they want to do it.
sure.
So,
And maybe it's, what's your experience in doing that? What are
Yeah.
some examples of where you've found someone that wasn't even looking?
Yeah, see,
right?
that's, yeah, I like how you're wording that. Because some of these, again, I'm just trying to put this question into that Q&A session.
sure.
And it's like, how do we approach that to be concise, to get to the point, to get the information that we want out of it? So if you're asking the
Right.
question, basically to see if they stutter or if they don't,
Right.
you know, then it's like, let's find the way to word it so we can get that information.
And there might even be
best way.
information that they have that they didn't put in their proposal where we hear it and go, wow,
Yeah.
okay, that's pretty good. So it might be a bragging point for them. Or if not, well, time to move on.
So before we get much further down the line then, so this is great conversation, but we want to do we want to come away from this meeting with a final list of questions?
Yeah.
Or something closer to final so that we can start engaging and booking these meetings, whatever? If that's the case, then how are we going to change this? How are we going to, are we going to change these questions to make them more efficient, succinct, get to the point?
Some of these questions, I would be more than willing to revise this list and actually turn them into questions that would go directly.
Okay, yeah, because
To these
the way
folks.
these are written, these are all like thought provoking
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
and
which-
great things for us to consider.
Yeah.
But what's the question that we want to present to them?
Right.
You know, one thought I have too is how do we have to take a step back and say, how much time do we want to give somebody to present to us? And then from there, maybe we can rank the questions just so that we don't want to have 3 hours worth of questions if we're only going to give them an hour, right?
Right.
So I think
Well-
one of the things we need to iron out is how long of an interview process will this be for each?
Yeah, and work
Vendor.
backwards.
We can still give them the questions and say, you've got an hour to present this, or whatever timeline. And because some of these questions, I would assume that some of these could be grouped together. It's not that they'd have to, go through line by line by line.
Right.
They,
Well, and
they may
even
very
even
well.
4 and 5, like you said
Yeah.
5 is essentially a 4A. It's like I feel like both of these, they're so close and there's so much overlap, they could be addressed with one question,
Yeah,
you know, with one response from them.
yes, absolutely. And then, okay.
No, go ahead.
Moving along, will academic improvement and student outcomes be the central purpose of the search? In other words, how are they going to help identify candidates based on demonstrated results, not simply years of experience or impressive titles or letters behind their name? I want to know what kind of things are these individuals going to be able to present in terms of, this is what I did in this district, and we've got actual numbers, actual quantitative numbers, not qualitative. Not just feel-good initiatives. Oh, we started this program, we did that, wonderful, great. What did you do? What are the numbers? What kind of test scores have you improved upon, or whatever? And I'd like to see something like that.
Yeah. Though some of it could be, in my opinion, qualitative as well. You know what I mean? Like things that aren't just tied to a number, but, you know, culture building, you know, whatever. There are other things that could be considered that would be just as impactful as some data points.
The only issue I have with that is that it gets real sticky to prove. If they have some sort of proof or evidence, or, oh my gosh, you know, the parents were overjoyed and we got all kinds of accolades or whatever, you know, that may be provable. So, but not just some kind of warm fuzzy presentation that,
Yeah.
you know, this is what we did. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think too, one example or maybe a metric that could be used is what's the average placement time of, you know, the superintendents if it's, well, we just
getting
get,
shorter
we
and
just get
shorter
past
in the
our
state
1
of
year and 1
Michigan.
month, so we don't have to, you know, we don't have to charge you again, or so we do have to charge you again. I mean, if
Right.
it's something like that, I think that's a bit telling. I know there's a lot of variables that go into that, but
Yeah.
I think knowing if they have that data, if they track that data, because to me, somebody that's not tracking that data is a little bit telling too. Is like,
Yeah.
Yeah. If they
Are you
don't
just-
have that about,
are you just
their
transacting and you don't care what
accomplishments.
happens
Yeah.
after? I think that's a
Yeah.
Right.
So this, I think, and maybe this is where, as we go through more of these questions, we can look for efficiencies, because I feel like some of this would also be addressed when they're talking about like how they vet, you know, the candidates, you know, because some of this is tied to that, right? It's like they're vetting the candidates not just on their years of service, but what they've accomplished, what data they have, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's like it's all kind of intermixed.
Well, this gets back to the point that you made, that some of these questions could be answered in one paragraph. They might answer 3 or 4 of them with, you know, well, this is what we did. So I'm happy with that. That's fine. So, number 7, does the firm have a structured evaluation system? If so, what's the candidate scoring rubric that you're using? How are candidates compared against district priorities? How are interview questions are developed, and will the board be involved? That is a given. And the last thing I want to hear is that, well, we've developed our own set of questions and we think these are best.
And I think both
Sorry.
proposals we
Yeah.
have both cited that they would work with the
Yeah.
board to, I don't remember the wording, but it's like to develop that, right? And to work out the process, not just the timing and how things would align, but also the development of the questions and things like that.
And for those 2 proposals, that's great. If we want to send proposals to anyone else, I want to give them the heads up too, that this is exactly what we're looking for. And that's another conversation we kind of can have after these questions as well. Number 8, and this is very important, especially for parents, to parents. Describe your level of deep vetting. Deep vetting, not just a confirmation that, yeah, they worked at this school system for 10 years. Deep vetting and meaningful reference checks, including the question, how are candidate references and claims checked? Have you checked this? If this individual is making the claim that, oh yeah, we've improved test scores over 3 years, are you checking that against what kind of verifiable source? Are you looking at, you know, some, I forgot the organization that does the school rankings, but
Niche.
There's
yes,
a bunch of them.
yeah, there are,
Yeah.
right.
U.S. News and World Report.
Yeah. Little leery of
They all
that
do
one.
it. They all do it.
How are candidate references and claims checked? How many references are checked? Are they just going to provide the standard 3? Are they going to provide a boatload? What's the goal there? Are references limited to those supplied by the candidate? If the reference, if the candidate says, okay, I've got these 3 right here, you should be happy with it. Well, what are we going to do to ensure that we're going to do the extra mile? How else are we going to check on these?
And I think, and again, in at least one of the proposals, though I think both reference this, utilizing the networks that they have, because many of these networks or many of the consultants that both organizations use are like retired superintendents, what have you.
Yeah.
And they, so they all have connections and they all, so they, and one of them talked about like social media, digging in social media to help vet some of these. I don't remember what they specifically said. Do you recall about like data checking? I don't remember if any specifically said that.
I think it was in here.
But they did talk about checking references that were beyond what was provided by the candidate. So some of that stuff was already addressed. So again, I guess what do we want to get out of asking the level of detail of these questions?
What's really important, even though they may have already addressed that in their proposals, that they are well aware of what we're demanding and what we want, because we want to make sure that we give the same thing to each one of the potential groups that we're going to look at. And if they feel confident, we've answered 4 or 5 of these, okay, fine. We're going to take a look at that. We're going to compare it to our questions. If we have additional questions and we don't feel that they've answered it enough, then I want to make sure we at least have the ability to call back up and say, what about this? Where are you at on that? Can you kind of elaborate a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that they absolutely have to revise the proposal or agreement, but, just to provide that information. So.
Okay.
Other stuff like, do you conduct reference checks on finalists or earlier in the process? Now, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that this should be much, much earlier in the process. However,
I think they indicated that.
yeah, they've indicated it, but we want to let them know. Again, this is what we're willing to accept. The reason why this list of questions and document is going to be so important, we want to make sure that we can hold their feet to the fire and get those deliverables that we're looking for. So, do you provide the board with a written reference report, or do you actually show the references? How do you investigate performance concerns and inconsistencies? Now, everybody is going to have glowing recommendations. No one goes through life in a job without their critics, and it happens. And in a school district, the critics get very loud. Their parents. There's probably the number one area that you'd want to check in terms of backgrounds for superintendents. Have there been any controversies? I just read one on social media over in a small town near Kalamazoo, where 400 parents signed a petition to get rid of the superintendent and such, making sure that this company does their due diligence in letting us know, hey, this person, we just found out because of our check that, the town was ready to come at them with pitchforks and torches. So.
Okay. The note that I wrote down here was, again, how would this affect your decision? Like, what are we doing with that information?
That information is kind of important if a district had the pressure of wanting to get a new superintendent in their operation. It may be something where we find that this was a good thing that they did. It doesn't necessarily mean that if there were.
Sure, but even if it's good or if it's bad, I mean, let's say we find something on social media. Let's say that there's a parent or a group of parents, whatever.
Right.
How do you verify that? To know that I mean, how is that verifiable?
I
You
would
know what
expect
mean?
these people to know how to do that.
But I think your point is, are they doing that, right? And
Yeah,
if they're not,
right.
then it's like, well, then we need to ask you to do it, and what does that mean in terms of a proposal back? Do you have to charge more to take the additional time to go beyond the, oh, we did the background check and they look fine?
And the other thing too, because this happens to be all the time, making sure that there's no oh by the ways in the contract process, where the consultant has to contact the client and say, oh, by the way, that's gonna be another $500. Oh, by the way, that extra travel, we're gonna have to charge you another day for that kind of thing. And by letting them know that this is what we want, we're kind of avoiding those little surprise phone calls where their proposal price all of a sudden becomes 30% greater because, oh, you really weren't clear on this. So,
Or maybe they're just saying, we're not willing to go that deep, we
Yeah.
withdraw our bid. That could happen
yeah,
too, right?
absolutely, yeah, it could very
So
well.
it kind of helps
Yeah.
both sides, I think.
What I want to do is make sure that we're protected. So,
Okay.
it doesn't mean that any of these are necessarily showstoppers for the candidate, but I want these companies to do their work. I don't want to pay $10,000 for a company to hand us a bunch of resumes and say, look what we've got. Don't care. I want them vetted. I want them to earn their money.
Okay.
So-
Understood. I mean, I agree with you
Yeah.
100% that I want them vetted and I want the company the search firm to do the work. I'm just struggling with the depth of the information that we're requesting. I don't know. I'm struggling with how to.
Well, there may be nothing to report though, and that's not a deal breaker necessarily in and of itself. They may say, well, this really isn't necessary because of this, that, or the other. And I'm sure if they've searched for previous superintendents, they have, these questions are not going to be brand new to them.
Right.
They're not.
Sure.
Hopefully.
And if they are, well then back to square one.
Yeah.
But, this is really more or less for protecting us and making sure that they do their work. And I want to be very careful how I say this. Sometimes it's been my experience professionally that sometimes you hire companies that promise you certain things, but their promises are very ethereal and they're like little thought bubbles. And unless you get concrete with them, those little thought bubbles just kind of pop and they go away. So that's why.
So yeah, again, so if we want to be this concrete, then a lot of this in my mind needs to be reworded and rephrased.
Oh, yeah.
So that it's
Absolutely.
so it's getting to the point that we want to make, and and saying, instead of how do you investigate performance concerns or inconsistencies, tell them, this is our expectation. How can you meet the expectation or something? You know what I mean?
How do you guys do that?
Yeah. How do you?
I
address
fully
this?
agree.
Okay.
This was for us, this wasn't a list pre-made to,
Understood.
So-
But yeah, just trying again, envisioning how this meeting goes when if this isn't modified enough, I don't know how it could be any less than an hour and a half inquisition. And then also what else we should discuss once we get through the list is, are we sending this information, like our finalized questions, to them in advance and then following up with an in-person review, or are we just having them show up at the podium or at the chair, the microphone, and say, okay, question 1, and then have them go through all the questions? You know what I mean? That's also going to affect how we approach this, approach the list.
Right. And I'm thinking that anybody with any time in this field is going to know how to attack this list of questions. I do. This,
Sure.
like I say, I don't think it's going to be brand new to anyone. I think it's going to be, okay, this is what they want. This is what they're looking for. They're going to be pretty hardcore about it. Okay, fine. This is what we're going to tell them. This is what we're going to present. And I personal experience is that, I've received various lengthy lists of requirements, and there's a way to group them together and make the potential customer feel relaxed that, yes, this is what we've covered. So,
But I think, we want to probably trim these down a bit.
Oh, yeah,
Right,
sure.
because otherwise we're going to be,
absolutely.
for each one, we're going to
Yeah.
be spending hours, so.
Or more.
Yeah,
And
I'm back to
keep
the,
in mind,
let's pick half a dozen or something.
this
and-
was
and we-
for discussion purposes only. This was not
No,
designed.
no, and this is great. I appreciated
know.
that you pulled the list together because I noticed that a lot of similarities in the content, the wording came from the information that you had shared with me from the conference that you went to over the summer.
Yes, yes.
Or early in the summer.
Right.
So yeah, I noticed there was a lot of similarities. So I appreciated that you pulled questions from that because it was a big document, and so it was,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't expect everyone to read through it, but,
Yeah, no, but I noticed a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
So yeah.
oh, yeah, there's an awful lot. And in that seminar that I was a part of, there were various other things that were talked about and discussed, and I tried to kind of capture the flavor, at least within these somehow.
Yep.
So, and then the next one, we're getting very close to the end here, don't worry. Yeah.
They're still hanging
Well,
with
that's
us.
just your questions.
Well, yeah, they're just,
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I'm
Yeah.
sure Greg's list is long because you guys covered a lot more than I had
I
on
never
my
have
list.
questions, right?
Yeah, never, never. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Have we met?
Yeah.
You're Greg
Yeah,
Keller?
nice to
What?
meet you.
will the firm provide regular, predictable communication throughout the search? This is what we can specify. We want updates on, on this timeline, weekly or whatever, and direct them who to contact and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
So,
and this was, I think, addressed a lot in both proposals. But so if we can definitely be more specific and narrow down exactly what we want them to tell us here, because
Sure.
they did say that they would provide regular updates, that they would
What's
provide.
regular?
but that's just
Right.
it. They
Yeah.
said they'd provide regular updates.
I'm in a
Yeah.
month. Every month
Whoopee.
you're gonna give you an
Yeah,
update.
so
When?
let's tell them.
When are they going to provide
Yeah,
updates?
how often will you provide updates in
What
each
are those
phase
updates going to
or
look
whatever?
like?
Yeah.
Is it just going to be a confirmation of, yep, we're doing our job? Or, by the way, we got in 6 candidates this week. We've gotten rid of 3. We're doing a reference check on 2 of them, that kind of thing.
Right.
Those-
Right. Yeah.
Quantitative.
So I think if we can be specific in that,
Yeah.
because we know that they're at least in the proposals, they're prepared to give us regular updates. But if we want something specific, then I think we need to lay it out for them.
Sure.
And then you asked about the primary consultant, and they did outline that in the one proposal, and the other one I mentioned in my email to the board when I first sent these out, and it would be Rod Green with MASB. So I don't remember the woman's name from the other proposal.
Yeah.
But yeah, those were in there. And then obviously, frequency, we've already talked about that. I think they mentioned that those consultants, the assigned consultant would be the one to attend meetings as needed, board meetings. So I don't know if we need to include
Yeah, I think a
that.
lot of this is
Yeah,
covered.
yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
this, and it's straightforward enough. Questions like who attends board meetings, they put it in the proposal. I think we can take them at their word that would be. You know what I mean? It's not like we're vetting the candidates. We want to know more about how they're vetting, what they're doing to vet,
Right.
whatever. So, but this one, yeah, the consultant will be there. I think the consultant. Will be
And how quickly will questions be answered? That's huge.
Yeah.
If we ask a question, I don't want to wait a week because they're busy or whatever. I want a response within 24 hours. I really do.
Yeah, and then this last one, item E, what happens if the search falls behind the schedule or behind schedule? And I think this would depend. I mean, we'd have to frame this question because if it's because of our schedules that we can't get a meeting together to be able to interview candidates or whatever, then I'm sure their answer is going to be very different than if the delay is on their side. So I think we need to frame that better
Right.
to find out.
And specify if the delay is on your side.
Yeah. Then what are you going to do to
What are you gonna
help out
do?
with that?
What does
Right.
that mean? What if they just say, we vetted these candidates and they were no good? I mean, would we really want to penalize them for that?
Oh, I'm not saying that we have to penalize them. if we get that information from them, that tells us that we may have to regroup or re-strategize a little bit. Especially if they've gone to the point so far to prove that they're doing their job, they're giving us all the deliverables we asked for. They may very well end up in a situation where it's like, we don't have anybody right now. Well, okay. Now it's up to us as a board to say, okay, we got to revise our timeline a little bit. We may have to take a look and see.
Yeah, I took that to be more of a question for us, really,
Well,
because I don't know that they can answer something like that.
what,
Again, because the situation may be so different. Like, I don't know how they can answer that, because it's a very broad, there could be 100 reasons why it fell behind.
well, they are going to give us a schedule in their proposal.
Yep.
So what happens if it falls behind based upon their issues, not ours? What do you do? How do you regroup? Do you tell us? Do you immediately
Yeah, I mean,
say,
I think
listen,
that-
we need 2 more weeks on this. This is not easy. This is not an easy task. All I want is information. It doesn't mean that we're going to sever the relationship. It doesn't mean we're going to look for a new consulting group. It just means that we are kept in the know.
Yeah, to me, that's
None of these
Right.
we're
questions.
in
So
the
ask-
know that,
because
our timeline has slipped.
you can answer this question 80 different ways and still not answer all the ways that,
Yeah.
because there are so many ways that, there's so many reasons that could put something behind schedule or put the process behind schedule.
I think it's
So,
the knowing that we're
so just
falling
knowing,
behind.
yeah, it all comes back to
And then we as a
communication
group can
and
figure
updates.
out where do we go from
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
None of these, by the way, like I said before, and I don't think that all of these have to be answered in a
Yeah.
definitive yes or no. None of these are showstoppers if we don't get the answers that we're expecting or want. They may have some very valid points saying, yeah, okay, this is a question of yours, but you know what? You're way off. This ain't gonna happen,
Yeah,
pal.
this can't
So,
be this
right.
can't happen because of whatever, yeah.
You bet.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, so that's why this is good discussion because it's getting to the point of, so what is the point of asking that question? The point is we need to make sure we're informed
Right.
so that we can develop plans with them
Right.
to correct course
Right.
or whatever. Yeah. So, yeah.
And then, you're gonna love this one because this is 10A through K.
Oh, yeah.
But we don't have to go through the list. Provide details on the following items and conditions between the firm and the board. List the following: payment schedule. What happens if the search fails? Is a replacement search included? Who owns the candidate information? If we're paying for that information to collect, are they taking it away or do we get it? For example, do we get resumes? Do we get references? Or are they gonna say, no, that's proprietary to us and take them away and walk?
Yeah, I don't know. I know that only up to or only beyond a certain point in the process like if the candidate says, yes, I'm interested and I want to apply, that's when we would be able to see a resume. Anything before that is confidential, I believe. I can't remember what exactly the
Well,
trigger is.
But
So
maybe
we
that's
wouldn't
the
we
question
wouldn't
of
see
what do
anything
we
before
want
that.
it to be?
It,
Maybe that's the other.
it can be
angle.
structured any way we demand it to be
Well,
structured.
that's my point. Is
Well,
do we tell them?
But
what
do you
we
really want to push that envelope? Because then there's going to be a whole lot
I'll
of
push every envelope
but-
possible.
but
I want them to
because-
do their job.
this doesn't have anything to do with them not doing their job. My question is, if you say, no, we want to see every resume of every person that you talk to, then no, it's not necessarily it. They're entitled, those people are entitled to confidentiality up until the point, I believe, that they apply. So it's like once they apply, once they submit an application or express interest, then yes, then we can see that
I
stuff.
think you're reading a little bit more into this than what
Okay.
what I
Enlighten me.
wrote. Yeah. Who owns the candidate information? That's the point in which we can say, okay, if they're a finalist,
Sure. Yeah.
we want that stuff.
Yeah.
We want, they've gone through your process and maybe we ask for their secondary list of the people maybe they just cut off. Obviously, we don't want the throwaways. We don't need that.
Right.
What are we gonna do with it? Nothing.
Nothing.
So,
Yeah, I think from what I read in the proposals, obviously we can ask for further detail, but from what I read in the proposals, they would include resumes and all the details for each of those that are candidates that move forward.
but
with the
again,
application
we
or
want them
interest or
to
whatever.
be understanding that this is what they want. I don't want to get a by the way at the end of the search process. So that's the only reason why I'm
So
bringing
by the
up
way,
these
like if
questions.
you want that, it's gonna cost you more, or by the way, you can't have that.
Right.
Okay,
And all of a sudden we're going,
yeah,
okay. So confidentiality provisions, obviously, if there are any kind of group that's worth paying, they're gonna have some kind of confidentiality agreement that they're gonna want to, us to kind of sign off on. You know, that goes without saying. Any conflict of interest provisions too. What do we want to list maybe in terms of a conflict of interest? What kind of conflicts of interest might come up? Maybe we should specify. It's food for thought.
okay. Yeah, I wasn't really sure where you were going with that.
Well, conflict of interest. I don't want to use the example of the MASB. Let's say there's a company out there that does these searches, and let's say maybe there's X board members or whatever, or they're recommending somebody that maybe I want to be real careful how I legally put this.
Sure.
And I'm not thinking of the right word right now.
So, are you saying that they're recommending somebody because it's gonna line their pocket somehow or something?
Yeah, that could be one scenario.
Okay, all right.
Sure. Consultant availability, obviously that'll address that up front. Any and all travel expenses, post-hire support.
Yeah,
Do they offer
They
any?
both address that.
Yeah.
Through the first year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Transition services, termination provisions, those things. And luckily, that's all I have,
Okay.
which I'm sure you're very excited about.
Now let fun part
Yeah.
2 start.
Yeah, well, I don't have a bunch actually. A lot of these are focusing on external candidates, right? So, or at least they could be perceived as being that way. So again, want to understand how this vendor would work with any internal candidates that may or may not be interested. Because I don't know that they really, when I, at least the context, when I read these, it was kind of more from the
External.
standpoint that we're going outside.
Sure, because
Right.
they're talking about
Which
their,
again,
how far
we-
their reach is,
Right,
their networks
exactly.
that they can tap. Yeah.
So, you know, you talk about confidentiality, sort of how does that fit into with internal candidates?
Yeah.
So I guess that was something that was interesting, and, you know, this question came from another board member that I reached out to for feedback.
Awesome.
So I think that's something to look at. And
The
by
other
the way,
thing,
all of
too-
these are actually from another board member, so,
The one, just to stay with that subject, okay, we have internal candidates that put their name out there with this company. Company does its job, we get a candidate, we interview them, we hire somebody. Does that company now take our people and kind of cannibalize us to, for other job openings in other districts?
Probably. Because that's what we're asking them to do for us.
Yeah,
So why wouldn't they do it for somebody else?
we can tell them not to.
that's not compete or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, sure, I'd do it too. I mean, if
So
I
you'd
could
be
make a
asking
quick
the
buck,
vendor
sure.
to sign you can't poach
Yeah,
anybody
right.
from our
Mhm.
district.
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting. So
Yeah.
what's good for the goose is not good for the gander.
Consultants have a very unique way of thinking, so.
I see that. I see that.
But is that, putting the shoe on the other foot, is that good for our internal candidates? Right, would somebody not come here potentially if they knew that they could, if they don't have an opportunity to grow here, I
Then
think
they can't use that service
that
to
could be
go
a
somewhere
deterrent
else.
for some other position.
Now, if
know.
down the road, there's another posting, they do another search, and the internal candidate sees it and says, here you go. That's a whole other thing. I don't want them to have a list of our people going, hey, by the way, since you're looking, hey, I know, XYZ district has this available. And all of a sudden now we get a superintendent and we lose, 3 offensive linemen. So You know what I'm saying? So,
That was such a stretch.
oh, think football.
Well, then you got to start with something other than a superintendent. You got to say quarterback. You got to say like head
Oh,
coach.
you're
something.
so technical.
I'm like,
So
it was a
moving
leap,
on to the
wasn't it?
next one. This question is kind of related to your previous one about kind of what do they use for their scoring system when they're vetting candidates. But the question was asked, like, how do they weight somebody that is a doctorate, your fancy titles question, right? Versus one that isn't. Do we need to say we don't have an additional point or whatever in the score sheet if you have a PhD? Like,
Getting
do we
back to
need
their
spec-
scoring
Yeah,
rubric.
exactly.
Does a PhD automatically outweigh somebody with 2 master's
Because if we
degrees?
find out that it does in their scoring system, maybe we want to say we're less worried about titles and more worried about
Right. Results.
the individual.
Yes.
So I guess maybe that's a thing we would specify to them. Question was asked about current job market and the size of the pool of applicants right now. And this sort of bleeds the line a little bit into the timing question too, but question was asked about their experience with pool of candidates this time of year versus another time of year.
Yeah, that plays into a question that I had too, because I was like, what's your recommendation for the timing search? It's like, what we understand there are pros and cons, but what has your experience been? Where have you had success? Where haven't you? MLI doesn't mention, I guess neither one of them mention in their proposals, like a time of year or whatever, or success rates or anything like that. I just know from a personal conversation with Rod Green what his personal experience has been.
And that was an alarm for me. When you mentioned that and the way Rod Green described it, that was a big red flag for me.
Yeah, it's a smaller pool and it happens less often, but you're also then one of a few job openings versus one of many job openings with a bigger pool of candidates. So it's like, the proportions may be the same, I don't know. But yeah, so it doesn't necessarily mean the quality is any different. It just means that, or maybe because somebody was looking for a job, didn't find the one that they wanted, during that winter time frame or that early spring time frame, didn't find one, started the school year in the current job, and then this posting pops up. That might prompt a change.
And it bleeds into the other question about what do they do to go get people, right?
Yeah.
Because maybe the pool candidate size isn't that important if they are somebody that's going out there knocking on the door of somebody that they think would be a great candidate that has no intention of leaving, or would take a lot to move, right? Because they're happy where they're at. Question about placement longevity. And we talked about this one already, I think, as a potential metric, like, based on your 56 placements, what's the average? Or maybe median is better, right? Because you then can take away some of the noise that, when you calculate average, right, it's going to be different than a median. And then this question is more about when you have the final candidate, what's their experience, or what are their comments about a candidate that may or may not, or will not get unanimous support from a board?
Yeah, Rod had strong opinions about that. He said to force something through with the 4-3 doesn't make sense, particularly with our situation, right? With the change, with the potential change.
Yeah, I mean,
or actually with the known change that's going to happen as of December 31st. But he said, genuinely, you really want to try to get consensus. And he said more often than not, in his experience, that is what happens. That the board is like, okay, this person, or maybe these two people, yes, I could be comfortable with one of these. Like, and everybody is kind of like, okay, yeah, one of these is going to be good. And he said, you just typically get consensus. He said, obviously there are outlier, situations that he's had, whatever, but he's done this, I think he said 66 times. So.
But I agree with you completely. I mean, if the candidate is really gonna be worthy of looking at, that person should be able to, in some way, shape, or form, wow everyone at the board table. And to give them a certain level of, okay, maybe it doesn't meet my ideal criteria, but boy, they're
They
strong in
check all
this.
these other boxes.
They do.
Yeah.
And,
Yep.
and that should be the goal that we have, is to make sure that somebody can make everyone feel comfortable. So,
Yep.
yeah, I'm all
Yeah,
for that.
100%.
Well, and I guess the takeoff to that is how big of a draw will it be for a candidate, knowing that, at least 2 seats are gonna flip over, and that potentially based on how the hiring timing fell, and they may have been hired by folks that aren't gonna be there anymore. Is that gonna prevent them from wanting to be a candidate?
Right.
So,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Who knows? Who knows? It could play into it. I think especially if you're looking at like a 4-3 situation, I think that plays into it even more, given our 4-3 and our dynamics specifically, right? But yeah, it's definitely, you definitely want to aim for consensus. So.
I don't think anyone would really wanna have the choice of, it's this side or that side.
Yeah.
I think we could all, at least the 3 of us can agree that,
Yeah.
this individual should be able to present something for everyone.
Yep.
So,
Yep, absolutely, 100%. But that's not to say that we couldn't find someone in the fall.
right.
You know what I mean?
It's
It's like,
possible.
I know there's hesitation, there's resistance to try to pursue this with any urgency. But I still think it's worth a look. Because it's not to say that a candidate isn't out there that would do exactly what we were talking about. And still, I mean, I think, are you
Well,
done with
yeah,
your
obviously,
questions?
before
Because
we
it's kind
get-
of bleeding
we're
into
going
the
into
timing. Yeah,
right,
that's like bleeding
I
into
was
the
gonna say,
timing
so,
discussion.
As far as questions go, no, I think that's it. My opinion is we should kind of weed these down, again, maybe rank them, say, these are our
And group
top
some
5,
together,
or, group
more,
them.
more succinct, more pointed,
sure.
direct. This is what we're expecting, so how
Right.
can you meet that expectation?
And I think,
kind of
I
approach.
was kind of thinking the same as you in terms of, do we send these to them in advance? I mean, our meetings are recorded, right? So if they could have the benefit of hearing all this
Unless we
deliberation
do, I mean,
anyways,
because if
right?
it's a
So-
short enough, if we're envisioning it's a half-hour session, because if we send it to them ahead of time, it's a half-hour presentation with a short presentation with some Q&A. We can do them back to back in the same meeting. We just have somebody sit out in the hall and wait while we do the first one, and then they can, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it could
sure.
be like that, but it all depends on how long the questions, if we're sending them in advance, or if we're just gonna
Yeah, I
have them
mean,
stand at the
in
podium.
my mind, I'm thinking 30 minutes to an hour per
Max.
tops. But before we go on, there was 2 other firms that I had found that had worked with local districts that I think we may want to consider.
Okay.
And it doesn't necessarily mean we have to change any timing. Maybe we'd split it up for the ones that were later, right?
Right. Well, yeah, because we could still move forward with the ones that we have now, like move forward to the next phase, have, do the Q&A, however we're going to do that with those 2 while we send out RFPs to any others
Right, yeah,
that
because
we
there's
want
2
to.
other ones. One's Ray and Associates, and then the other one is, sorry again, Hazard Young, Atia and Associates. HYA is the acronym that they use.
Okay.
So Ray and Associates, I think what caught my attention is that they were used by Northville and Rochester.
Where are they
right?
located?
They are based out of Iowa, actually.
Okay,
But they do obviously work with
yes.
districts, and again, some of the clients cited were Northville, Rochester, Kalamazoo, Grand Rapids. So I think that would be somebody that maybe we want to get another
Yeah.
proposal from. And then the Hazard Young, we'll just call them HYA. They, let's see, Midland, Benton Harbor, Oxford, and a couple others. They're based out of Illinois. So I would strongly advocate for getting at least 3.
Sure. Yeah, at least one other one.
Because I felt like the 2, I don't know if maybe all 4 are gonna come back looking like the first 2, just,
Well,
Maybe.
when we get these back, it doesn't mean we have to have 5 presentations, because I have one too.
Oh, okay.
We can we can whittle that down and say, okay, these people look the best, and maybe we only have 2 or 3 that we want to invite. That's
Yeah, so
fine.
maybe that's
Yeah.
the point where we send this list of questions and they fill it out,
I-
and then we can figure out which 2 maybe we want to interview
It
as
would
the
be
final.
a complete waste of time if we sat there and round robin questions to them at like, this is the
nauseam.
first they're here. What an incredible, inefficient waste of time that would be.
Exactly. I'm
We-
totally with you.
yeah.
That's why I threw out that idea. Like, do we send stuff to them? Like, what is our expectation? How do we want to manage the response? Would we have them submit their response in writing or just present it to us and then give it to us in writing? Whatever. But I mean, we can lay out those details. But yeah, I think narrowing the field. If we want to get more RFPs, let's get more RFPs.
Yeah.
And then then we can review, narrow the field. And even if we review independently, we can decide in a meeting, like we can even vote, like rank order yours, and then we'll take the ones with the highest votes, whatever. We'll do that kind of thing to figure out who our top 2 or 3 are. And then we'll submit the questionnaires to just those, because I don't want to put all these firms through the ringer if we're really not going to consider 2 or 3 of them, you know what I mean? And have them
so
go
agree.
to the next level
Right.
with all of this
Yeah.
detail. It's not working.
Yeah, we don't want to
Correct.
take 6 months to figure out who we're going to.
Right,
Right.
no.
We don't
I-
have 6 months. We don't have 6 months. We need to, I should say that. I guess if we wanted to take 6 months to decide who we wanted to use, we could, sure.
Oh, not to use, no, absolutely not.
Well, I wouldn't
Yeah.
think so, but we do have to have a plan, whatever that plan is. We need to have a plan sooner than later so that we
Sure.
can execute the plan before December 31st, and actually before December 18th, because the district shuts down after December 18th. So, and it would be more challenging to call a special meeting on December 23rd or something.
Yeah.
So,
Not happening.
yeah. So December 18th is really kind of our cutoff. It's like our drop dead date in my eyes, to have a plan, whether that's like hiring somebody or if it's appointing and this, again, we keep going into the timing discussion.
Well, they kind of bleed into
They
it.
do,
It's
they
hard to not talk about them both.
Yeah. But whether we're appointing an interim or whatever, it's like we have to have a butt in that seat on December 31st so that they can hit the ground as soon as Chuck's contract is done. You know what I mean? Or like by December 31st, we have to have a butt in the seat.
Run that past me again. You're expecting a candidate or a hired person
Whether
to be in that
interim
by?
or, I think she means interim or.
Yeah, interim
Oh,
or candidate.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
interim.
yes,
yeah, whether
yes.
we're appointing
Okay.
an interim or hiring a candidate,
Thank you.
we got to have a butt
Okay.
in the seat.
Legally, there has to
Legally.
be a superintendent.
There
Right,
has to be
right.
somebody there.
Yeah.
So, and of course, we have a board meeting on the 14th of December. So, that's a great target, but if we needed to extend, we have until Friday, the 18th
You bet.
of
How we
December.
doing time? Oh, we got about an hour.
Oh, yeah, thank you, because I forgot to mention that.
Yeah.
I do have a hard stop at 5:30, varsity football,
Yeah, I think there's probably a lot of people.
2
that-
athletes. Yeah,
Yeah.
gotta go.
So we got 50 minutes or so to try
Yeah.
to.
Well,
Okay, so those are the 2 firms that you have found. Do you want to send an RF or send a request?
Yeah, I was
for-
gonna say I'm happy to reach out to them unless somebody else
Good.
wants to.
reach out to these people.
I don't. When you and Cindy did you?
We just-
was there
we
a
sent an
template that
email.
you had sent them?
Oh, what?
Like a template, or you just said,
No.
"Hey, we're looking for
No,
a
we're
proposal."
on the market. Basically, we're on the market. This is our timing.
It's kind of a
Can
cold
you
call.
send us? Yeah. Can you send us a proposal, and then we'll consider you.
Okay.
So, yep.
Yeah, because I think the next time we meet, we want to be
Yeah.
nailing down who the vendor is.
When you sent that out, how quick were they to respond?
Days. Just a couple days.
Okay.
One might have taken longer than the other,
That's
but only
big
by a
thing,
day or
too.
two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Response time.
If
Yeah, it was
if we
So
if
this
we
is your
yeah if
fifth
we
one.
Where's that one from?
Kansas City
Okay.
and if their response is like we'll respond
name
when
of
we
it?
want to.
That's what Kansas School Board Resource Center.
They're kind of like the Lisa of
Yeah, because you gave me information
Kansas.
on that
Yeah.
over the
yeah.
summer. You gave me that info. Yes.
The people on that page were the speakers of the conference I went to, and they were they put together an extremely well,
Yeah, it was
Well,
interesting,
do
Michigan?
interesting information.
yeah.
And they offered like two different types of services. Like one
Mm-hmm.
where they're like, here's how you do it, go ahead. And the other one is like, here's how you do it, let me
It's
hold
the
your hand through
handhold
it. Yeah.
versus the non-hand.
I'm in for hand holding. I'm in, yeah.
Yeah,
Because
well,
I don't want
they
to
were
vet all these
addressing
myself. Yeah.
those districts that wanted to quote unquote do it themselves.
Mhm.
I don't want to do it ourselves. Who is possibly going to have the time
Yeah,
to do the vetting and the, reviewing and what have you?
right.
So,
Okay, so Greg, is that a follow-up item for you then? You will send,
Did you physically speak with these people? I'm just wondering.
I
versus me
spoke with
cold
them at
calling
the conference.
Okay.
You could definitely use my
Yeah,
name and say,
can-
Glenn attended the SBAE conference and provided
and it
you
was
as a,
Kansas School Board Resource Center, isn't it?
Kansas School Board Resource Center.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what I thought.
Okay.
and
I
she
think that-
would be the
I
one
think
to contact
we're all
her.
in agreement, right? We'll just reach out to all of them.
Sure.
And,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
then I think from there we send either a truncated list or this all-encompassing list. I
No,
guess
I'm
is
going to
what we're-
expand on
true.
this.
Oh, zip it, zip it. Seriously.
What are you saying,
But I do like your
Kristen?
idea of
You don't like my list?
binning these.
I don't like a longer list, that's for sure.
And I think we just send them off
I
and
don't
let
get
them
Yeah.
send us a
Yep.
response back.
Yep,
We
send
should
it
give them
back.
a timeline to answer.
Uh-huh. And I don't even know that we might have, because I was trying to get the information so you guys could see it before we went into the one board meeting where we were just gonna start talking about all this. So we might have stated that we had a board meeting coming up, that that there was timing involved, but obviously they came in way ahead of that, so. Yeah. Okay.
That's the end of my
What
question.
else do we have on questions? Did you have any? Kristen?
No, because you guys addressed most of them, and then the big one that I had was what's your recommended timing for the search? Like based on
Yeah.
their experience, what would they recommend? Because I mean, they're the experts, right? Let's ask them what their thoughts are on whether or not we should pursue something in the fall or sit on it and come up with a plan. And I imagine, at least based on my conversation with Rod, so maybe the context was different, but I imagine they would help us with the interim process as well. Like finding someone who would be the interim, you know what I mean, as part of this. And maybe that's
Back into the timing.
part,
again.
well, no, maybe that's part of the question is, if we wait, would you help with the whole interim deal as well? Because there's a pool of interim superintendents that are around, but there's also internal candidates that could take a
Yes.
temporary,
Right.
there's, so there's tons of options.
Yeah.
And there's
yeah.
timing on that too, right? Because
Yeah.
if you're gonna get somebody,
Yeah.
you gotta have
a contract,
contract
you gotta do the negotiation, you
Yep.
gotta do all the
So
things.
at what point
So,
is
yeah.
if you haven't landed the plane yet, when do you pull the ripcord? And
Right,
Yeah.
right, probably sooner than later.
so I think
You
that's
could
kind
have
of
used a
what.
football
Oh,
analogy.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Throw it to the other
No,
receiver.
Only if you use it appropriately. Because no, I'm throwing a flag on that one.
Flag on the play. No replay
Flag on
allowed
the
either.
play.
Yeah, see?
No-
See?
no replay
That's how you
either.
do it. That's
There's
how
a
you do it.
5-yard penalty on that one, huh?
No, that was 15. So
Yeah, that was a
50.
personal
that was
foul.
a first
In a timeout, in a loss of down.
one more and you're out of the game.
Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Yeah. So would they help with interim?
Yeah.
And I don't think one of the proposals talked about it, but maybe the other one did. But I know that I talked about it with Rod. So, I mean, I know that there is help available to do that. I just don't know if it's included as this package that they're proposing, or if it's something separate, if we're, choosing to wait to do, because we're kind of adding something to the mix,
Right.
right? If we were just jumping right in, doing the search, finding the candidate and not having to worry about an interim, then
Yeah, no.
then that's one thing. But it's like, if we pursue the interim, does that mean that it's an added?
But yeah, I mean, I
feature
think
to
there
the
was a sort of a
proposal.
one-liner catch-all that they had in there about if timing needs to be adjusted, we can work with you on that.
Yeah, and there was one like, yeah, and I think they both said that, if we do the search and it doesn't work, we can't find somebody that works, then we'll search again.
Yeah.
And that was all encompassing. It was all as part of the proposed price. But
And the other thing too, and I never thought I'd say this, I would be comfortable if those proposals came back refreshed and there's a higher price tag.
As long as they're addressing.
I was, yes, and I was expecting, careful how I say this, or if I should say it. I was expecting different numbers,
Okay.
and quite amazed when those things came in, which kind of, for me, and I don't want to use the term red flag, but it was a little troubling to me. I'm thinking, just how much effort are they gonna put in for
Okay.
the price?
I kind of had the same thought.
Really?
Yeah,
Because I'm used to corporate America, right? The headhunter
well, I'm used to
approach
what
is-
I charge.
Well, I don't know what you charge.
So different. So different.
But a lot of, headhunters, if you will, which is kind of what, some of the big questions for me, which is how do you find somebody that's not necessarily actively looking? So in my mind, that's something that.
Oh yeah, because a headhunter. Ooh,
They
super
charge,
pricey.
they charge 30, 40, 50%
I would
of your
not-
first year
I
Right.
would not allow
salary.
that
So,
at all.
I mean, that's why I was
No.
like, boy,
And I
maybe
can't
we need
imagine
to
if
do
there's
this.
really even a market for that because public education can't afford to pay a headhunter like that. You
Right,
know what I mean?
right,
So,
exactly,
yeah,
yeah.
So there's no market. For
And I
that
don't know,
anyway.
maybe it's subsidized in some way too for pricing, but
And of course, the tendency would be to push for as high a contract. I mean, they're gonna be working for
Oh,
that
for them
candidate
because they're working to line their own
completely,
pockets. Yeah. It's totally not the road we would want to go down.
No,
all right, so how are we gonna get these questions down?
I can
you wanna take a
wordsmith
stab?
them. I will, yes.
Okay. And then I would be happy to look, because I did take some notes about like where we could combine some things, where we could put a couple things together. So if you do that, then I can take a run at it.
I promise you it will be a half a page, okay?
How many?
Wait. Can you say that a little bit louder, please?
Turn the mic.
I didn't say what size paper, whether it was legal or
the size of the
8.5 by
We still have
11.
one witness here.
It could be poster board size.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if
a
they're
poster
not
board, but
coming
that's
in,
I
maybe
didn't
it's not as
specify.
important to get the number down, but I do think.
Oh,
we
I
can
think
group
it
them.
is. I think it, because I mean, yeah, if we want to get like real answers out of them, then I think we need to be pointed. And, it's because if we just throw a huge long list at them, I mean, who knows what kind of, I don't know. It just, if it looks like more than they want to do, then maybe they're just going to throw half-hearted answers,
Yeah, I mean,
whatever.
I'm saying,
I would,
I don't, like 6 to
sorry.
10 is probably like
Yeah.
even the max of
Yeah.
what we would.
yeah.
Before I was thinking that's who we.
Though this is 10, but it's a 3-page 10.
But I had
No,
5 on
no,
And you
top
had
of
5
those
on,
10,
on top,
so-
and I had one. So, yeah.
I got
So,
the
yeah, we need to
original
know.
copy. It's only a page and a quarter. Come on, Greg.
Gosh.
And it's in big font too.
All right, so I'm gonna
got that
I'm
good.
gonna reach out to the other
3.
vendors.
Mhm.
And you had one in an email that you had sent out.
Yeah,
too,
I don't know
but are
anything
you-
about them though. I haven't had time to look into them, so
Okay.
I don't know if we want to bother.
I mean-
It's another one. I just
I think
happened to
5's
get.
and I wanted at least 3.
Yeah, and this
so-
is another
Yeah.
one
If we
that's out
have
of state.
5
So if we've already got 3 that are out of state, I'm
And-
fine with that.
Yeah,
And we've got 4 at least that we know did work with districts
Yeah.
in this area.
And again, we don't have to look at all 5. I mean.
Well, that's where I
can-
think the questions will narrow it down. So if we get proposals from 5, maybe we read their responses, we narrow it down to 2 or 3, and
And
those
then
are the
send
ones
those.
we bring
You
back
bet.
and we
Yeah.
carve out
Yeah.
half
2
an hour.
Yeah, half an hour
each.
for each one, so that we can, because if we send them the questions in advance, they could send us their response.
Right.
They can present it to us and we can ask questions, or
Right.
they could just present the response and we can do it just a live,
Right.
just Q&A right there, impromptu, and then just give everybody a half an hour.
Yep.
I would definitely want question and answer time though.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah, I
So
think
say
that's
you
where,
done
long-
like 15-minute presentation, 15 minutes Q&A.
yeah,
you know,
something
or
like
at least, one question from everyone they can ask and just
that. Yeah,
leave it at that.
I agree. So okay, so I
It
think
just
we've
needs to
covered
be-
the questions.
Okay.
Now we'll get back into timing. And I know
Yes.
each one of these proposals outlined basically the same schedule, which was
14 or
about
15
14,
weeks.
16
Mhm.
weeks, something like that.
Mhm.
Right, so that's 4 months. But again, they said they can do something quicker, but we're already now 4 months from December
Right.
18.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, and thanks to our, our committee policies and procedures now that we've implemented, I think that potentially slows our progress too. So I mean, it took a while just to get this set up and to get a meeting scheduled and whatnot, instead of just being able to say, hey, can you guys meet for half an hour on Zoom? Because we can't do that, right?
Right now.
So yeah. So anyway, yeah, so I mean, it's going to be tough to try to do a fall search for sure, because I mean, timing for this, let's say we meet again in 2 weeks, we have these responses, we all come in, we rank order them, we vote, we pick the top 2, whatever, we send out the questionnaires, we still need to allow time for that, so that's another 2 weeks. Now we're 4 weeks down the road. We have them come in, do the Q&A sessions, then we have to make a decision, and then probably a special meeting or whatever, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's just to get the ball rolling, we're at least 4 to 6 weeks in from today. And then from that day, what does the timing even look like?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
that's the struggle.
In my opinion, the quality of the candidate is going to dictate the timing. Right.
To an extent, sure.
I mean,
Once we get that far,
if we
but
get
we gotta
somebody and we're
start
not
to be able to
happy,
get that
like
far.
I don't have a problem doing the interim. I'm not going to just pick somebody because we're trying to shoehorn in the position. I appreciate.
Oh no, I agree.
I appreciate we
completely.
need to have somebody, but if we don't find somebody that we all like, I am 100% okay with an interim.
Absolutely. I would love to be able to have the seat filled with someone on a more permanent basis for the continuity. You know what I mean? Instead of having, okay, so now we're going to have 6 months or more with an interim, and then we have to transition again to have somebody else come in. You know what I mean? It's like, I would love it if we could find that candidate, that unicorn. That would be awesome. And that's why I've been trying to move things along so that we had a chance to do that. So, but if we have to do the interim, absolutely. I'm 100% in favor of that over picking a person that's not the right person for the
Right.
job.
Right.
Yeah.
Not the right person for
Because
our district.
you know, the district has a strong history of having people in that seat for a long time,
A
right?
long time.
So,
Yeah.
and I don't want to
10
make a
years.
frivolous decision, right?
Yeah.
And it could be very costly.
A hurried one, which
Right.
is why, and I don't want to, I wasn't privy to the conversation you had with Rod, but it sounded much more hurried than I was willing to do.
Oh,
It
okay.
sounded
so like the
like-
original timeline from
It
Rob.
sounded like what you mentioned, and again, maybe I misinterpreted. I don't want to,
You mean like
bash-
when we at the board meeting before, or just now when I mentioned?
No, it was a conversation. You brought up some of the details, and I can't
Yeah,
say
yeah.
exactly
no,
when,
you're good.
but the fact that he kind of laid out this outline, and it sounded like we got to do this by the end of December or something like that, which for me it's like whoa.
Well, it was if we want a hired candidate in the seat
Yeah.
without doing the interim process. If that was what our focus was, then absolutely we need to get going right away,
Yeah,
so that
right.
we would have that 14 weeks or whatever it is that he outlined. So
That's
or
why
that's
I may have
yeah.
misinterpreted that,
Yeah.
and I don't want to
Yeah.
score that
No,
against Rod.
that was
but-
that was the gist of it. That it was more about, hey, you have to have a butt in the seat by the time the existing superintendent leaves. So the clock is ticking. So if we can make the search happen in the fall, I would love it. I'm all for it. And again, if the search doesn't pan out, and if we don't find a candidate, then we know that they will search again for us. At least these two
The two, so
proposals
right.
so far. We don't know the other 3 yet, obviously, but so we know that they would search again to find somebody and then do one in the fall or in the spring, whatever. So yeah, I mean, that's where I'm coming from. It's like I'm about continuity. I'm about not having to do 2 separate contract negotiations. I'm about saving everybody the extra time, the extra money, the extra effort
Oh, yeah.
to do all that.
Oh, yeah.
But for the sake of getting the right candidate, I will support it, of course. Yeah.
So, if we start mapping out, right, I kind of feel like this is our kickoff meeting, so
I
we
need a
need
calendar.
we obviously need to send out the proposals or ask for more proposals,
Yep.
right? So that's going to take a couple weeks or, you said it was maybe as quickly as a couple days, right?
Yeah,
So
they did respond
if
quickly.
that happens, then obviously that can shorten timing, but you know, if we allow them 2 weeks to get something back to us. I guess we need a calendar here, but you got yours open?
So 14
I
weeks
will.
would be like starting September 7th. 14 weeks, that takes us right up to December 18th ish.
I mean, you have to have a vendor
We
selected
would be
by the
we would have to
14th.
say go with our vendor.
Yeah.
Which given the fact that now we're adding 3 more to our list, I don't know if that's possible. So, and obviously they did talk about timing could be condensed. It could be less than 14 weeks, but we also don't want
And again,
to
it's just
sacrifice.
how quickly can you find the unicorn?
Yeah.
Can you find them? That's real. Again, that to me, that's the
And nobody
that's
can answer
the-
that question.
Yeah, the
Nobody
million
can
dollar
answer.
question,
Uh-huh.
or more than that, depending on how big of a contract the person gets.
Yeah.
Unicorn. Don't.
I was going with Kristen's and
Yeah.
just
You
keeping.
know
it-
what I mean.
I'm going with the continuity, right?
Yeah.
Of the
See?
unicorn.
Come on, we tried to play off of your poor
Well,
football
then
analogy.
okay,
so-
let's use quarterback. Okay, fine.
When you get that star quarterback, right?
Yeah,
How quickly
there you
can
go.
you find that?
Perfect.
So,
Perfect.
Right.
Let's find another. Well, I was gonna say Tom Brady, but in college he was a backup at first. So yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right. So
so I'm gonna reach out to them. You guys are gonna work on, I guess, questions and then.
Yeah, revising some of these.
Because that's something we could meet again and go through if we needed to, right?
maybe is this a potential question that we add, or is this something that you include with your 2 or with your 3 RFPs that you're going to send out? Do we say, okay, so if we want to have a decision made before Christmas break, let's just say we're going to do this search and we find good candidates. Are you able to meet this timing? Because it may be compressed. You know what I mean? By the time we make our decision, it may be less than this 14 weeks. That seems to be the average.
So you're talking about
So-
adding that to one of the.
No,
list of
I'm talking about
questions?
adding it when you send out for an RFP, when you contact them, can you
Well-
include, would you be able to meet this timing?
I could.
If
but
needed,
my
if
concern
needed.
would be we didn't ask the others that.
well, I would
And so
ask
I'd
them
want to
now.
be consistent with.
Yeah,
how
no,
we-
I would be willing, since Cindy and I contacted the first 2, I would be willing to reach out to them and ask them the same question. If you guys think that would be, I mean, because if they say, you know what, I don't think this is going to work, I think you should wait for whatever. Okay, you know, then at least we're getting that question answered. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in my mind, those 2 already answered it, but I think you can ask.
Yeah,
You have a different opinion?
what do you think?
See the.
I know you can see the
Spinning.
gears
The
are
little
turning.
hamster's
Yeah, there's a
turning,
little smoke coming out of the ear there.
but it's turning slow. No, no, I don't have anything to add to that. I'll agree.
Okay.
I'll agree. Yeah.
Okay, so if you can include that in your email and just ask, you know, and frame it, right? So that, you know, we haven't determined yet if we want to pursue a search yet this fall, or if we would wait until late winter, early spring. But if we were to do this in the fall, would you be able to meet the timing if our drop dead date is December 18th? And I'll send the same question to the other 2.
My guess is we're gonna get it depends.
Probably, but that's okay. I want to hear. It depends
Yeah.
on what. Tell me.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Tell me.
Yeah,
Depends on the
that's
quarterback.
not a deal breaker. I just want to know
Yeah.
why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I can ask that.
All right. So, and this, if we're looking at a winter search, I feel like we're kind of the blind leading the blind as far as how does the interim process work? Like, do we need to determine as a committee that we want to only look inside, that we want to only look outside, look both? And then again, it goes back to the question, can this firm help us with that process if we're going to do an interim and, you know, wait for the later
Yeah,
stage?
in my mind, it's the firm telling us what level of involvement they have in that process? Because if they say we don't do that, then I think we have to then, in parallel, start working on that.
To throw my 2 cents in, I have no problem letting that be an internal issue. I personally know that there would be a few people throwing their hat in the ring for that position. And I have enough confidence in our admin staff, people that are involved, that all they have to do is make sure the ship stays its course. You know, we're not asking them to do miraculous things. It's just hold steady, be that center point, let us know. And I think we would have enough internal candidates to handle that. I don't see us needing to go outside. Still want to make it an option, but I don't think we need to do that.
And with an interim, there is no, well, I mean, honestly, even with hiring a new candidate, there's like no legal requirement for like posting and interviewing and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's typically more accepted. I get, as I understand from conversation with Rod, that yeah, it's like to do like an internal appointment or to hire somebody on, on a temporary basis, whatever. It doesn't have to be the full interview process and
Right.
all of that. That it is an appointment
Right.
more than it is.
And
a
as
hiring.
long as they
Yeah.
have the understanding that this in no way, shape, or form is to be interpreted as a potential job offer for a long-term superintendent
yeah.
position.
And the
You know, I
contract
don't-
would be all.
I don't want anyone to perceive this as, oh, I'm kind of in line now. No, we're asking you just to do an interim job.
Sure.
And,
Yeah, and,
Make sure
and the
they-
contract would stipulate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that. Okay, so, all right. So I guess, go ahead.
No, I was just making sure you were gonna be able to finish your thoughts. So.
Yeah, I'm trying. So for the winter, so if we're going for the later, option, do we know, because I don't know, I don't think I asked this question, exactly when is the best? Like, where's the sweet spot? Like, would you start a search at the end of January? Would you go in mid-February? Would you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, was it March? I don't know exactly when that timing is. Obviously that dictates how long the interim, if we have an interim, how long that contract would be. Like how long we would want them to be. Like, would it be like a 6-month contract, like January 1st to June 30th, hoping that we had somebody in place by June 30th? You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know how that timing.
I
best.
think we can just specify and let the candidates know, listen, you may be in this position for 3 weeks, you may be in it till the
Yeah,
end of the
maybe
school year.
it's like on a monthly
And-
basis.
yeah.
For every month
Sure,
you serve,
right.
for daily, if you
Exactly.
need it to be a daily contract,
Yeah.
something that just says,
Yeah.
hey, we're
But
gonna
I
keep
probably
chipping
didn't-
away at this,
I
trying
didn't
to
phrase
find the
my
best.
question the right way. So how do we know when we should commence the search if we're waiting until later? Like, how do we know when the search should be?
Okay.
Because it plays into other things.
Right.
I see.
Yeah, so it's like starting it in March may not mean that we would have somebody there in June. So it's like when does the market prime for this? When, it's like, and I don't know how we know that except asking one of these firms. We're asking all of them. Like when the best time is, because we're not in education. I'm not on the job market for any education position, so I don't know when the best time is to look,
I don't think there is a best time.
Yeah, that's
I really don't. There might be,
We just
there
keep it
might be a
open,
best
and it
time.
just it comes into it plays out how
If
it
we
plays
start it
out,
now.
right? We go about it as though we're intending to fill it as soon as possible, and if it takes 8 months, it takes 8 months.
There
If it takes
might be
4
a
months, it
best
takes-
time, but that doesn't mean that coincides with what we're looking for.
Meaning in the candidate.
Yeah, there might be a best time where you have a larger pool. Okay. But what comprises that pool? Are these individuals that, are getting bounced and they know it, or, what? uh, Just because there's a larger pool doesn't mean that it's really a good time.
Right, which is why I'm advocating that
Right.
we start it in the fall. But I guess note to self, don't sit here this time of day.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to get at is, okay, so if we're going to, I mean, because the way that I've been looking at it is we start now or we wait until like the usual time, whatever, because that's like the big gist of it, right? It's like districts usually post at, sometime after January, but I don't know when exactly that window is. And maybe I can just walk into central office and ask anybody in there and they would be able to tell me, oh yeah, typically you would, look for jobs in March. Okay, so we want to have our job posting up by March 1st.
Well, I mean, did you ask Rod that in your conversation?
I don't think we talked specifically. We just talked about doing it now or doing it later when people typically do, but I didn't nail down
So you're
exactly that
going down the
window.
path of, if we just make a decision not to even bother now,
When
and
would
wait
we aim
until
for? Yeah, should we start January 1st then, once we have our interim in place?
mothball it and
Once we
just-
get back? Yeah,
Yeah,
do we sit on it until then? Which is really what Rod kind of sounded like were our options, like when I had that conversation, right? So it's like, you could start right away.
Yeah,
You've
I
got
guess there
time
is
to be able to
something-
get it in, or you wait and you approach it at the usual time.
So you're taking the real estate approach, right? If the house is on the market too long, people are like, why did nobody buy this, right?
Though
Versus,
I'm sure there's a lot of positions out there that have been on the market for a while. But yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. So it's like, it's not just rolling it. So we start it now, but we don't have the candidates, or we don't have time to get through the process before December 31st. So let's put an interim in and just keep it open and rolling into the next year. Or do you just cut it off?
I think we should prepare
And
for
start
an interim. I really do. And I think maybe at the beginning of November is the time where we put out notice that we need an interim because of timing, and work the schedule that way.
Well, but if we wait until November to make that call, then what are we doing in the meantime?
We're doing all this
all this
preliminary
stuff. Yeah, get
stuff.
this out
Well,
of the
but this
way.
stuff could potentially be done in less than 4 weeks, right? Like with what I just spelled out earlier. So let's say we send these out in 2 weeks. We determine the 2 that we send the questionnaires to. In 2 weeks, they have that back, and we have a meeting. I mean, 6 weeks max. We've got this nailed down. So we're in September, maybe early October. I don't have a calendar in front of me. So then what are we doing until November? I mean, are we starting a search? Are we starting the process?
There's only,
Or
what,
or
about a
why
month
would we
in
if
there, right?
we may make a different decision in November? So I guess I'm like, so what? I feel like we either need to, fish or cut bait, right?
From what I'm hearing from you, I think you might be anticipating a little bit too much to happen too soon. I'm anticipating some drawn out stuff here. I could be completely wrong.
No, you're not wrong, because I know that there's a strong desire among many, not just on the board, but among many, to slow roll it. So I get
Yeah.
it. And we have built speed bumps. I mean, poor Greg got an earful from me out of my frustration with all of this the other day. But we have built speed bumps to the impediments to progress and to efficiency and whatever with the committee structure that we have put in place with policy change. So I get it. I'm probably standing on a hill alone, fighting a battle that can't be won. But I'm still, I guess if we're going to be all in and make a decision, I at least want to have some of the professionals weigh in on that and tell us, either based on their experience, this is where we found the most success. This is where I think you're going to get more bang for your buck, or we can't meet that timing. We would recommend waiting here. You know what I mean? It's like, I feel like we have to have some of that information.
As a hypothetical professional in this business, I would tell you, oh, we gotta go now. Why? That's a sooner payday for me.
Oh. Sure.
I don't, in
But if
other
it's the
words,
same payday,
yeah, but
does it really matter if you start now?
I want the check sooner.
Yeah, you'd say
I-
bird in the hand, right?
I appreciate what you're saying. I just don't want someone to try to steamroll this, because I think whatever time estimate you ask for, they're going to give the rosiest scenario for them. I really feel that way.
Whatever. I'm like, it benefits them not if they give you a scenario that they can't meet.
No.
So I don't know why
Yeah.
they would do it, but whatever.
It
I-
benefits me to pull this off in 8 weeks as opposed to 18.
Because then you can book another one after, or
Because I don't want to work for 18 weeks for the same pay that I can get after 8.
sure.
I just don't want to.
So, but then you're saying they're going to give us a rosy picture of the timeline, but then not meet it, or they will meet it, or I'm not following.
I don't think that we should play our cards to the degree that we're providing any kind of clue that we are hungry to get rolling. We can tell them, if things work out appropriately, sure, we're going to look at things, sure. But this is a very deliberate process that we want to go through. Don't expect payday in 8 weeks.
Okay. Yeah. I hear what you're saying, but whatever.
But no, you're hearing, that's just it, you're just hearing.
Yeah.
What do you think of that? You have some doubts,
I
right?
think, yeah. Well, I think MASB, for example, in their proposal, they said, okay, so at the start you pay us half, at the end you pay us the other half. So, I mean, sure, they could end up waiting 14 weeks, or they could end up waiting 4 months or more months, 4 more months before they would get that second paycheck. But it's like, it's still coming. I don't know.
How long do you want to wait for a paycheck?
I don't know, Glenn. I'm not
You
nearly as
do know.
motivated. No, I'm not. No. I am not nearly as motivated by that dollar sign
Greg,
as
how
other
soon
people.
do you want a paycheck?
Anyway.
I'll
So
take one.
I'm
So
not,
I
I'm not
get it.
trying to say that everyone is just diabolical and they're looking for that, but
No, but-
there is a certain level of efficiency that I can eke out if I can get this done quicker, to where I can spend more time getting new clients on board and such.
right,
I'm going to opt for the rosiest scenario.
sure,
I am.
okay, I get that. But again,
So
I
it sounds
guess
like we just need to have the conversation with them about what timing do they recommend? If we don't think it's achievable, or we're not trying to cram everything in 4 months, like,
When you go buy a used car and the salesman asks you, well, how much you want to spend? It's that same type of question.
so. But is that necessarily bad? I don't know. I guess it depends on how you
yeah,
frame the
again,
question.
in my mind, it
Yeah.
was gonna be candidate driven,
Right.
Yeah.
not necessarily what
How long do you want to take it? As long as it takes to get the right one.
exactly.
Period.
Yep. If
What
that's-
more?
if that's
What
a
more
month,
do you need to know?
Great.
They don't need to know more than that.
And again,
I'm not.
how many candidates are gonna maybe not want to come because they don't know what the board looks like now? I mean, that could be a
That could be
pushback
another
from-
thing. That could be a huge.
and that's
factor.
nothing that we can change, right? That's just the facts, right? There may be somebody that says, I'm not,
I know, you guys, seriously, you don't have to try to sell me on this. I know that it's 2 against 1. I know.
No.
No. Listen, let me finish my thought.
Sure.
Because I get it. I've talked about and I've thought about all of these points that you guys are saying. Well, except for some of what you were saying that I didn't understand. But but no, it's like I've considered all the aspects of the board change, the 4-3, the timing, cramming it in, the interim, the internal, the not, the whatever. I get it. I get it all. maybe, I don't know. I don't know.
Kristen,
I'm just seeing the writing on the wall, guys. I'm along for the ride at this point, right?
Kristen,
As
this is not 2 against 1. Wow.
Well, this is.
I mean, if we're
I don't
talking,
want
I mean,
it
if
to
we're
be.
if we're
I don't
doing
want it to
numbers,
be.
right? We
Kristen.
haven't talked about that for every other board meeting that I've ever attended, where there's a lot of times where it's 4-3. So I don't think we're
We all
not going
agreed
there. We
earlier
can
that
appreciate
we
the
want
position.
every board member to feel the warm fuzzies.
Absolutely. Right.
I don't know why you think it's, 2 against 1 here. No, it's not.
Okay. Good. I'm glad to hear you say it out loud. I'm thankful for that.
Well,
Good.
it needs to be said out loud.
Yeah.
More importantly, it needs to be understood by you.
Sure.
One of the reasons why I asked Greg to be the head of the committee, and you kind of blew it off like, well, it's no big deal that I'm president. You spend an inordinately large amount of time doing a lot of your presidential stuff. You do, and I give you a tremendous amount of credit for
I
doing
appreciate
that.
Yep.
I think he does too. And I know how much stuff that you have to do. You have to field questions from 6 other board members. You have to be in constant communication with the superintendent. We don't have to.
Right.
That takes up time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Yep. I get it.
I hope.
Yeah. No, I do.
I-
I do.
I hope.
And I'll say it out loud that I think that is genuine. Absolutely. I think that you what you're saying and what you're expressing, I mean, you're spot on. It is. It's a ton of time. It's a big commitment,
Yeah.
whatever. But I don't think that's the only reason that you didn't want me to be the chair. And I'm fine with that. Seriously, I'm good with that. I think we have a good working relationship. We can have these conversations. I think it's good.
Do you have anything to say about this?
I was just gonna say, I think that,
I've already said my piece. She's not buying it. So
I mean, if the
I
intent,
am. I said that what you said is genuine. I get it.
all I can say is
and I appreciate it.
if the intent was to steamroll, this would have been a much shorter meeting, Kristen, right?
no kidding.
As 2 people that have sat on the board knowing that.
Wait, would
a
it
lot of
really have
times-
been that much shorter? Because you guys always have long lists. I'm teasing
I mean,
you
we
now.
just would have
I'm
done it,
teasing.
right? You know,
I'm teasing you now.
but I think if anybody can appreciate the situation that you're describing, I
Sure.
think it's Glenn and I.
Sure.
And maybe another previous board member or another current board member.
Of course.
So I think to say that we don't understand the
I didn't say you
predicament.
didn't understand. I think you understand it perfectly well. Yeah.
Or to maybe to insinuate that that's what we're gonna do. I think my point is we
Okay.
wouldn't be having these conversations, right?
Then good. Thank you.
But
Thank you. That helps
For-
to put me at ease.
I mean,
because honestly, yeah, coming into this, it's tough not to come in with defenses up, right? Because like when you come into board
I
meetings,
can appreciate
same
that.
idea.
Again.
Exactly. So good.
I'm hoping
glad.
that this is a small enough group to where we don't have to have those defenses up.
Right.
Maybe I'm being naive. I don't know, but I'm sure hoping.
Yeah.
I would love for you to be part of that final decision. I just think the timing may not allow for it.
Absolutely agree. Yeah.
I-
With this, if there was a way that we could have started in July after the announcement was made, if we could have just started rolling with everything then
Right.
yeah, we would have had more runway to be able to achieve.
Right.
But then there's all the other things there's the things that you have to do. The board has to approve it or accept it, and the board has to all the things.
Yeah, I mean-
So yeah, and then we have all these policy changes, and this is literally killing me.
You want to sit here?
No, I might actually. No, it's fine. We're almost done because I have to go in a few minutes. But no, I mean, if we could have met the timing, sure. That's not why I'm pushing for it. I understand fully that my time is limited and what I can achieve is limited. That my intent, my goal is not to. I'm not leaving until we appoint a new superintendent because I don't want to appoint the wrong person. I'm not going to sacrifice the quality of the candidate, the quality of the process, just because I want to put a stamp on something. No. So don't mistake any of this for that. That's That's
You're
not,
gonna have
that's not where I
4
live.
months to put your stamp
I
on
don't need to
this.
put a stamp on a damn thing.
Y-
All I need to do is do my job and do what's best for the district. That's it.
Which is your stamp,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That
There's-
you are,
There's
and
no,
we are.
there's no ulterior motive.
Yeah, and I hope you can at least begin to see that we're going to respect that. And
I appreciate that.
Yeah, look, this is far too important subject matter to bring in the minutia and BS from the past. It really is
Agreed.
far too important. And I know you don't want to, leave with the legacy of a wrong decision. We sure as heck don't want to sit up there
And live with.
and live
Yeah.
with a wrong decision.
Right.
That's for sure. I don't want to take
And-
that heat.
And, beyond any of us, we don't want the staff to have to deal with the
No
wrong decisions.
kidding.
The students,
Yes.
Right.
the taxpayers, because wrong decisions are very expensive.
Oh,
Yep, absolutely.
yeah. And painful.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
But
Good.
I think we can go as fast as we can go, and it depends on, again, the candidates. That was my point of the board timing, right? There may be people that choose not to, simply from that standpoint, and
That choose not to.
not to apply
Oh.
to a position in which there's certainty
Oh.
around a board.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
And that's just,
Yeah, and
so
it's
again,
getting
it
back to
comes
that
back to
whole like
who's the candidate that we
the
get.
There's so
4-3
many
thing and trying to
factors.
shove through
Sorry.
a 4-3 and whatever, especially when
There's-
2 of the 4 will be gone. And yeah, there's so many variables, so many moving parts.
tons.
Yeah.
Tons.
Yeah, it's a lot. We have kind of a unique situation, I think, in that. Maybe somewhat unique. I don't know. But anyway, so do we have marching orders?
I think-
You've
I
got,
think we do, yeah.
just so I can capture, you've
Yeah, I'm
got
gonna,
3 RFPs that you're going to send out. Did we agree or not agree to include the question about could you meet this timing if we chose this path? Do you want to include that or no?
I mean, I can ask, I just don't think it's necessary. I'm kind of in your perspective that we're gonna get the, of course I can answer, but.
Sure.
So I don't know what we're gonna do with the information, kind of like how you've been asking
Okay.
on some of these questions.
All right.
I mean, I can lay it out that, our superintendent is retiring by the end of December. And so they're gonna understand, or at least that,
Yeah,
That's
they'll
a
at least have that
We're
scenario
not discounting
understood.
your opinion. We're just kind of putting our mindset in the people that will receive that question and how are they going to react.
Sure.
That's it.
anything else?
You're going to revise questions,
I am.
condense, concise. And then, so I don't have to bother then reaching out to the first 2, asking about meeting December
Right.
18th timing if you're not going to ask those 3.
Now, with those questions, when we revise this list, are we just going to look at them independently and just
Yes.
have a consensus and
Well,
say,
we'll have to.
we're good to,
We will have to approve in a meeting. We'll have to say, okay, this is the list that we're going with. But if you send it to me,
yeah,
I can revise it and send it to Greg.
yes,
That is legit.
yeah,
Yes.
right.
Mhm.
So, in other words,
We
by
just
the
can't have a
next
discussion about it.
meeting,
Right.
we need this in place.
Okay, so
So-
can we talk timing for next meeting? So how long? I mean, you'll need at least a week to get responses. I would say
Right,
we
try and get
might
them
need
out
to lean
tomorrow
on.
or something.
Yeah, if we might need to lean
I'll
on.
have to let you guys know in terms of timing and what I get back from them.
Because we could target, let me see, if you're gonna send them out tomorrow, we give them a full week, 2 weeks. I mean, like the week of September 14th. That's a full 2 weeks for them to respond.
Trying to get my
Yeah,
calendar.
just
up.
our next
And if we
meeting,
have to mix it,
21st.
we can. I mean, it needs to be posted only 2 days in advance. So if we
But
need to mix
ideally,
it,
it'd
but
be
if we,
better to give more time, right?
exact, well,
For all the
and knowing
big
our
audience we
calendars,
have here.
yeah. Well, hey, we had a much
Had
bigger
more than I
crowd than
thought.
I expected.
Yeah.
Um,
They hung
so
out longer than I expected.
Some threw in the towel early, though.
Yeah.
That was concerning. But
So we already have a meeting. Oh, ours is the 21st,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yes. I have availability every day that week. It just varies, like it could be afternoon, evening some days, it could be morning other days. I don't know how flexible you guys are. I know you try to schedule yourself like work days when you're in town.
I know I have two possible looming trips in that week, the
I
week
am
of the
gone from the
14th.
15th through the 17th, but the 14th is wide open,
I
so
was
is
gonna say
Friday.
14 might work for me.
Yeah.
or
Okay, so can we pencil that in?
Let's.
And is there a
14th.
time that works best for you guys? I'm good anytime after like 1 o'clock. And in fact, I could meet early in the morning as well because I have a meeting midday. So I could do before 11 or after 1.
I've got the full day.
Do you guys prefer morning or evening?
I'm fine with morning.
Sure.
And it
Yeah, why
certainly
don't we
helps
try
with,
how early you want to get up?
I'm
Well-
up at 5:15 every morning with children going to school. So yeah.
I'm good anytime.
I'm not.
I'm good anytime.
Show off.
Bragger.
Yeah, I know, right?
I'm good.
I'm
as
in
early-
full
I'm
store at
I'm good as
5:30.
early as 7.
Okay. Will mine leave by 7? So we could do a 7:30 where
Is
no,
that
he
too-
doesn't want to get up there.
Glenn's like, I'm
Glenn's
not even
like,
out of
heck
bed
no.
yet.
That
Yeah.
means
Yeah, that's before breakfast.
I don't care. 7:30.
Let's do, well, I mean, would it,
7:30 is fine.
we could do an 8 or 8:30? Is that better?
Sure.
Yeah, I just prefer earlier just so we
Right.
get
So,
No,
on with our day.
honestly, I do too, because
okay,
it's
get it out of the way, then you
like-
still have work day.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So
I-
7:30, right
Yeah,
now
I
we'll
would go
pencil it
7,
in.
7:30.
Okay.
You guys okay with 7:30?
Yeah, fine.
Yeah.
Fine.
And then I think,
I'll bring an
Kinda
Abbey
set-
coffee with me.
There we
so
go.
Don't worry
I
about
think
it.
the idea of maybe setting an end time works good too. But
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 hours.
2
I think
hours
is plenty.
max.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's more than
Because then
enough.
we can try to schedule around things better.
So let's
Yep.
see.
That's
All
fine.
right, so 7:30. And then we have to develop an agenda.
Search committee, 7:30. And then I guess we need to delineate roles. Will it be the chair or the secretary who develops the agenda or shares it with Renee?
I mean, I assumed it would be me, but
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yep.
I'll work on minutes, you work on agenda.
okay.
I'll work on lists.
So I think
He'll work on long lists.
agenda for next time is hopefully approval of
Approval of the
questions.
questions. And
And I
then
think
hopefully we can vote or determine top tier of search firms.
Yeah.
Can we do that if we haven't sent them the questions though?
Yeah, because we're only going to send the questions to the top ones.
Oh, I thought we were sending it to all
Chop.
5.
I thought we were going to get proposals first and then whittle that
We would
down.
get proposals from all 5, whittle it down to the top ones, and only send the questions to the top ones instead of sending the questions to everybody. I swear
thought-
that's what we said
I
earlier.
thought we were
I-
using the questions to whittle them
So,
down.
yeah, as a qualifier.
Oh, no, because I said, what? Yeah, this may be a Venus and Mars thing, because I totally, and now I'm gonna be watching this recording so I can determine exactly what I said. But no, I was thinking,
You may have said it
That-
that way and I interpreted it differently, but
yeah,
at
that,
least in my mind, I was thinking
I
we
think
were,
this
we were-
requires some mansplaining.
well, that's why I said we should vote on like who are our top ones and then send those top ones the questions.
But how
So-
are we going to know who's the top ones? How?
So,
Based
okay, so
solely
how
on
about, so
this?
are we gonna narrow the list? We should at least discuss, do we want, okay, so if you guys wanna send the questions to everybody, we
it
should
doesn't
at
affect
least,
the timing, right?
no, but we should at least decide, are we gonna send it to all 5? Because maybe one of these proposals comes back, it's like, no way do we wanna work with these yahoos. And you know what I mean, so maybe just based on the proposal, we may be able to whittle it down, but that, in my
Yeah,
mind,
I
was the
mean,
point.
Do we, oh, okay, do we want to ask them for just a non-specific proposal? What kind of things are you gonna bring to the table for us when we ask you to move forward? Do we wanna like ask them kind of that general thing, or?
Well,
My
that
only
gets back
concern
to
is, yeah,
Greg's
if you're
concern, we
asking
already have
different
two.
questions.
Yeah,
different-
right.
and we're
know.
changing, I think that in fairness, we need to be
We
consistent.
need to lay it
with
out.
get-
Here's our scenario. Can you send
And
us
that's
a
what
proposal?
you did, right?
And
with
that's
the
what
two.
we
So I
did,
think we need to
yes.
follow that because that's being fair for all potential vendors, right?
I think we need to send them a list of questions. And I'm sorry if,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah,
I
I
didn't
thought
explain that enough.
I was tracking to what you were
We were
saying. but-
obviously on
was-
different wavelengths. Again, Venus and Mars. So, okay. So then, so our agenda is going to look like
Approval of
finalizing the questions. I don't know if there's
No, I don't
anything else to
think
do. We don't
so.
have to rank order or anything because we haven't sent questions out. So is that all we need to do?
I think so. Maybe it'd be a quick meeting then.
Unless something
And
comes up
then
in the
we'll have, we
meantime.
can schedule one for a week or two after that to review
Yeah.
their answers.
So maybe that quick meeting, we'll pencil it in for the 14th, but if you get responses before then, let's meet before then. You know, if it's just gonna be 15 minutes,
Yeah,
we might be able to find something the week before to be
Yeah,
able to
let's-
meet, if you've got those
I'll
responses.
keep you posted if we get the proposals. I'll
Yeah,
send them to you both and
yeah,
Well,
because I was thinking the process was different, so.
folks, it's, the actual date today, what about like meeting earlier, like maybe on Friday the 4th?
Right, it all depends on when he
Uh,
gets the responses.
yeah, I think we were just unsure how long it's gonna take to get them back, so.
Yeah, because even if you send them out tomorrow, it's Friday, they may not look at it until Monday. You may not have something until the
It's
end of the
Labor
week.
Day weekend coming
Yeah, it's
up, right?
Labor Day
I don't know
weekend,
how
yeah.
that will play into, I mean,
Yeah.
I think we stick with the 14th and if somehow
If
we
we can
can
do it
pull it ahead, we
before,
will.
then we'll pull it ahead. Yeah. Yeah,
Fine,
okay.
fine.
So yeah, so it may just be a short meeting unless something else comes up in between. Okay, beautiful. All right, you want to call it?
All right, meeting adjourned.
Okay, at 5:32.
5:32. You gonna
All right.
hit the stop? You wanna
How
try
do we
this time?
stop
Kristen?
the machine?
Do you need to go? If you want me to take that, I can.
I
can
do.
We'll just hit stop recording, I believe.
Where's the?